While seeing them, the girl who doesn't cry takes command of the battlefield, and they all throw their attack toward the other ships. She uses her powerful stigma, Ghost Lee, which makes her Jihai a naval commander. It took no more than an hour to destroy all the other ships, and they all died or fell into the water. Now there is only one remaining enemy ship sank, and Huiwen and Dokja are shocked to see her power level. After some time, she destroyed every enemy ship and the cinema master in content with the new ending. They have now reached the 4th ending credit, receiving 500 coins for their performance. All the helping ships disappear again, and Huiwen gives her helping hand to Jihai, saying she did well. Gilyoung also appreciates her, while Dokja thinks her stigma of the Great Admiral is so much overpowered, and she is too good to leave with Yoonghyuk. They are notified that the bounty scenario has been cleared, and Dokja thinks he is to receive one of the naval warfare god's stigmas and may also get the Ghost Fleet. He is notified that he has received the naval warfare god's stigma as a reward for completing the bounty scenario and has received the stigma sword song. He is shocked because Jihai won't obtain this stigma until much later in the story. It's probably much more useful to him that Ghost Fleet is, and he is relieved to have such a previous stigma. He thinks now he may stand a chance on 8F because of this, and Huiwen tells him they are returning to the theater. The Constellation, naval warfare god, expresses his gratitude, and they are going back to the theater. According to Dokja, it was an excellent ending to the movie, and when they come back, he asks Jihai to rest there for a while, and they will go rescue Yoonghyuk. She tries to resist, but he asks her to do just as he says, and she thinks there's no time to celebrate just because he obtained a new stigma. He thinks the cinema master isn't someone who he can face while looking after Jihai. After all he has done to save Jihai and earn a new stigma, it would be meaningless if this world ended from Yoonghyuk's regression. He has used the ampules and the coins he saved to increase his stats sufficiently, and now he just hopes that Yoonghyuk is fine. Soon, they entered the 8F, the Sky Garden, where he could see Yoonghyuk from a distance. Huiwen recognizes him and asks if he is that guy Yoonghyuk, and they wonder why he looks so fine. Dokja gets annoyed to see him fine and steps toward him. He then hits him from behind and thinks he would love to hit him some more, considering the trouble he went through, thinking he was in danger. But soon he feels something odd about Yoonghyuk, and he calls him, but he doesn't respond. Huiwen says he may be angry because he hit him all of a sudden. But Dokja observes him from behind and thinks Yoonghyuk died in the cinema dungeon on his 8th regression, not because he was weak, but it was because he was unlucky. In the meantime, the cinema master reveals himself, and Dokja knows that he is the final boss of Cinema Dungeon. Dokja is shocked that the boss of the Cinema Dungeon is the polar opposite of Yoonghyuk, and right now he is an empty shell and the cinema master's puppet. He is notified that the cinema master has control over Yoonghyuk, and he is ready to attack Dokja. He tries to wake him up and asks him to talk to him, but he thinks this is the worst-case scenario, and no character can stop him. In the meantime, Yoonghyuk attacks him and pushes him at a distance by activating his Skill Force Plan level 4. The attack was so harsh that his armor suit was damaged. His defense stat has been partially decreased. Huiwen tries to protect him and activates her skill, Demon Slaying level 2. She jumps upon him from behind to attack, but Yoonghyuk observes her presence and is ready to attack her. Dokja thinks Huiwen isn't strong enough to face Yoonghyuk yet, and at the same time, when she tries to attack him, Yoonghyuk grabs her hand and tries to attack her from the side. She reacts in time and dodges her attack, but he tries to attack her again, and this time he hits her leg and hand. She swings in the air, stands back on the ground, and thinks the fight isn't going to be easy. In the meantime, Yoonghyuk activates his skill 100-Step Fist, level 2, and hits her face again. At that moment, Jihai also follows them and is shocked to see them fighting. There is an explosion there, and she can see Yoonghyuk has defeated Huiwen. Dokja and Gilyoung shout from their places and ask her to watch out, but Yoonghyuk reaches her is about to punch her face. She is shocked that her master is trying to attack her, and there is sudden explosion there. Dokja once read about sunfish, a bony fish found in the tropical ocean, which is sensitive to shock and dies very easily. Currently, when Young-hyuk tries to attack her, she reacts in time and dodges his attack. Dokja tells her that he is under the control of the Cinema Master right now and asks her to go for the Cinema Master. The Cinema Master is watching them amusingly, and Jihai rushes toward her to attack. But before that, Young-hyuk reaches her and punches her face. She starts bleeding and falls to the ground. In the meantime, Huiwen also comes for her help, and they both try to attack him at once. But Young-hyuk jumps from the ground, and they both are watching him shockingly. Huiwen has activated her skill, Time of Judgment, and Gilyoung also started the skill, Thunder of Mjolnir. He uses his hammer and attacks Young-hyuk, but he creates a barrier and dodges the effect of thunder. He has neutralized the attack with immunity against electricity. The constellation of the pure good alignment remains silent against Huiwen Jiang's request, and she is shocked at the rejection of her request and wonders why her skill has been cancelled. Dokja thinks it was expected because he may be ruthless, but Young-hyuk has always acted out for the greater good. He knew that he was strong, but not like this. He would try to kill his team members. He activates her personal skills character profile, which says there is too much information about this character, converting character profile to character summary. His character summary appears in front of him, and Dokja finds out that his transmission stigma has already been activated. It is a stigma that reactivates the skills that Young-hyuk had learned during his past regressions. He is now counting on Gilyoung and asks him if he knows what to do. He takes a potion, thinking he doesn't want to do this, and consumes the enraged T-Rex DNA ampule. His stats are amplified for a 30-minute duration, his body is gushing with vitality, and a mysterious power rages from within his heart. He then activates the personal skill White Star Weapon Aura level 1 and thinks about what he lacks in skill and what he will make up for with stats. He is notified that the skill level for the White Star Weapon Aura has increased, and he thinks it will work since his skill levels aren't that high yet. Young-hyuk activates the skill Blue Star Weapon Aura level 2, and they both rush toward each other to attack. He calls him Sunfish and asks him to come at him, and their swords collide with each other, and the collision puts both of them away. He then rushes toward him to attack, while Dokja dodges his sharp and sudden moves. Dokja is barely able to keep up even with the boost in stats, and if he doesn't find a way soon, he will get defeated by him. He then activates his level 2 of Omniscient Reader's viewpoint and blocks his sword with the help of his own sword. He reads his mind in which Young-hyuk is in pain and wonders how many more times he has to repeat this. Dokja observes that he has already given up and asks him to get a hold of himself. He tries to push him and calls him an idiot, while Young-hyuk thinks everything will go back to the way it was if he regresses again. His companions will lose their memories, and the histories that he has existed in will be erased. Everything will repeat itself once again, and Dokja thinks the reason the Cinema Master can take control of Young-hyuk is because of his unstable state of mind. His stats may be weak, but he is equipped with the most advanced mental attack skills, and none of this would have happened in Young-hyuk's mental barrier skill because it was at least level 8. Young-hyuk is now thinking about what he is fighting for, and Dokja says how he calls himself the main character when it is only his third regression. He believes he is the only living thing left in this world, and Dokja tells him that he promised himself not to think that. He attacks him, saying he vows to live for the greater good, and if he can no longer find the will to go on, he will be regressed again. He wonders whom he is speaking to right now, while his skin is burning up and his eyes are tearing up. He activates his personal skill, the fourth wall, while Young-hyuk feels all alone and says he is not alone, and they have gone through a lot to find a way to get there. He attacks him again, but Young-hyuk blocks his attack. He then asks him how he is alone when he is there to help him, and he says when he died in the cinema dungeon like an idiot when he cried over his dead sister, and when she died after the prophet's betrayal. He asks her to remember his child with the person he loved for the first time, and when he went raving mad after his child died. He also asks him to remember when he fought the Demon King and opposed the returnees, and also helped the outer gods and fought against the reincarnated. He read all this in the TWSA novel and asked him to remember when he finally stood before the constellations. He says he has watched his struggle to survive. Jung-hyuk tries to attack him again, but Dokja blocks him and thinks he keeps reading so that he can stay. However, he believes he went a bit overboard because he was just supposed to stall for a time while Jung-hyuk again jumped upon him to attack. Their swords collide with each other, and there is a lot of destruction there. He then observes his eyes that he is in consciousness, and Jung-hyuk asks him about who he is. Dokja is shocked by the notification that the fourth wall is being shaken due to excessive immersion. He pushes him behind and wonders if he has come to his senses because of what he said and if it was that easy. In the meantime, the cinema master is flustered by what he just said, and he has strengthened his control over Jung-hyuk. He grabs his head and again gets unconscious, while Dokja already expected this because there is no way it would have been this easy. This time, Jung-hyuk's blue star weapon aura is growing stronger, and Dokja thinks it's so unfair to fight against the protagonist, and he can't believe he has become stronger in this short while. He calls him and asks if he remembers what he asked him before, and says he asked him for permission to punch him just once. He thinks Jung-hyuk will be much stronger than him in the future. In the meantime, Gilyong is observing something and starts bealing his nose and mouth. Dokja activates his Unbreakable Faith's special property and changes the ether affix into the fire. He thinks he may be able to overpower him just this once and activates his Stigma Sword Song to attack him this time. In reality, the Sword Song is the naval warfare god Stigma, which is considered one of the most powerful combat buffs in existence. Its effect is randomized, so there is no telling how much boost he will be getting, but he will have to make do with it given his situation. He is notified that a phrase left behind by the naval warfare god engulfs his sword, which states that amidst the raining arrows and the barrage of gunfire, Dokja thinks it is as if a thundering storm strikes the battlefield. He attacks him again, and this time Jung-hyuk is affected by his attack and starts bleeding from multiple body parts. Dokja reaches the cinema master, but before he can attack him, Jung-hyuk activates his skill, Resuscitation, level 2. Before he can shoot the cinema master, Jung-hyuk comes in the way, and Dokja is shocked to see that he has recovered already. Dokja calls Gilyong, who seems to be in a very bad condition, but he has called a grade 6 monarch level insect, Titanoptera. The cinema master is shocked to see the insect, while Gilyong says hello to his insect. The insect is huge, and Jung-hyuk tries to attack it. The cinema master smiles because he is protecting him. Dokja calls him from behind and asks why he is smiling about and appears from behind to attack him. The cinema master attempts to use the skill of mind control on him and tries to get over his mind. He thinks he has approached Dokja's mind, but is shocked to see an empty area there. In the meantime, Dokja activates his personal skill, the fourth wall, and hits the cinema master successfully. He is then notified that he is the first to defeat Simulation, the cinema master, and has received 9,000 coins for his achievement. Moreover, the clear condition for the hidden scenario has been met, and he has received 4,000 coins for his achievement. He is sure that he used his skill on him and wonders if he is okay because of the fourth wall. He rushes toward Gilyong, who gets unconscious, while the large insect has also defeated Jung-hyuk. A notification appears saying the barrier surrounding the cinema dungeon is disappearing. After some time, the insect also leaves the place while he is just staring at Jung-hyuk, who lies there in a state of unconsciousness. Huiwen comes to him and asks about his health, and he asks her about Jihai. They are fine, and with this, the third main scenario is drawing to an end, and it looks like they are almost done downstairs too. When they come outside, they are shocked to see that Seoul has been destroyed, and Gilyong shows them a shooting star, which looks so damn pretty. Dokja thinks shooting stars are an omen of an upcoming main scenario. It is said that a catastrophic nightmare is unparalleled by what they have experienced, and they will be waiting for them at the landing sites of those shooting stars around the world. He observes Gilyong prays to see the shooting star, and he asks Dokja if he will not make a wish. He replies that he has already made a wish, and he can't tell him because they say it won't come true if they tell the others what they wished for. Dokja thinks he wishes that he would survive to see the epilogue of a certain novel. However, a brand new hell is awaiting them after the sun rises. Currently, their hidden scenario has been completed, and at the same time, the main scenario, the emergency defense, has also been completed. They have received 1,000 coins for their achievements. Dokja is surprised to see the scenario has been completed, and the fourth main scenario will begin shortly. It hadn't even been 10 minutes since the third scenario ended, and he asked Jihai to stay there with Younghyuk. He says she won't be any help down there right now, and he can also cause more problems if he wakes up because he wants to smack him on the head once more. When he comes back, Dakibai says he will be the cause of his death because he almost gave him a heart attack. Dokja asks him if he has filtered the chat because he might have said a bit too much earlier, and he replies that he has no intention of ruining his channel, and information like that gets filtered automatically. He thinks constellations have massive wealth and power, but are not all-knowing, meaning that they don't have all the information. If his guess is correct, then what he has said earlier would have been filtered like this to the constellations. He remembers when he discussed all the past incidents of Younghyuk and thinks it wouldn't have been any less severe than this because this is how they hid the fact that Younghyuk was a regressor in the early chapters of the novel. Dakibai asks him not to worry because of the constellation, and he doesn't even hear that much information. He wonders if this is a restriction put in place by the feasibility, and Dakibai says there were too many messages, so he blocked some of them out at his own discretion. Dokja asks him to show him the messages from the highest-paying constellations, and he is also notified that a few constellations that are searching for the truth have taken an interest in him. Moreover, the constellation secretive plotter is intrigued by his presence and has gifted him 2,000 coins. Suddenly, they stop for a while, and Huiwen says she can carry Gilyong for a while because he seems tired. He gives Gilyong to her and asks Huiwen if she hears any of what he said earlier, and she replies that she heard all the conversation. Dokja is now worried because he thought she would be too far away to hear anything, while Huiwen also seems scared. She asks him who he really is and how he knows too much, and he replies that he knows the future partially. She is surprised and asks if Hyeonseong and Songkan know about this and asks him if he will kill her all of a sudden. Dokja shockingly asks why he will do that, and she replies this is what people do at times like these, and they say something like, people know too much and kill them. Dokja says if this were the case, then he would have killed all of them much earlier, and he didn't mean it like that. He tells her that the scenario up ahead will be even more dangerous. Their lives will be in danger, and they might risk losing something dear to them. For this, he wants them to be his side as always, and he asks her to be his companion. After some time, when they reach the platform, they are surprised to see Pildo Gong asking Hyungseong about him. He asks her to get a hold of himself, but he seems very angry. Hyunseong and Sanger rush toward them, and Dokja observes Pildo, who appears to have gotten considerably stronger. Suddenly, notifications appear in front of them saying the fourth main scenario will begin in 5 minutes, and Dokja carelessly looks toward Pildo because he can't do anything right now. Dakibai appears there and asks how they all are, and he can tell that they have been great from the looks on their faces. He states that he has come there to talk to them about the fourth main scenario, and they have to join forces with the other stations for the fourth scenario. Dokja thinks he has hands full with just Dakibai already, and there is no telling how it will be when other stations become involved. Dakibai says to proceed with the scenario, there is a prerequisite mission that they must complete, and things will get chaotic if there are too many people. This is why they need to find someone to lead them, and in other words, they need to elect the station leader. In the meantime, a sub-scenario has arrived, and Dakibai says the game that is about to take place is like a prelude, and the rules are shown in the status window. This is a sub-scenario named Leader Election, and its clear condition is that they have to take the white flag installed at the center of the platform. In the meantime, the white flag appears there and everyone rushes to get it. Dokja thinks if he takes that flag and becomes the leader, then he won't have to take orders from that. Meanwhile, Pildo is running toward the flag and is about to get it when Dokja uses his contract authority and calls him to get down. He falls to the ground and gets the flag by stepping on Pildo's back. He is notified that he has taken the white flag from the flagpole and now has become the leader of Chungmuro Station. He has been granted the right to walk the king's path, and if the ownership of the flag doesn't change in the next 5 minutes, then Chungmuro Station will remain under his command. Dokja thinks this flag originally belongs to Younghyuk in his third regression, but he guesses he is strong enough without it. Pildo calls his people and asks them to take the flag for him since they have 5 minutes. Hyunseong and Sangha rush toward him and he throws his shield toward Hyunseong, saying he got him a new one and asks him to throw away the one he used to have. Hyunseong happily takes the shield and activates the special skill Area Defense to block others' paths. Pildo and his group are unable to come toward them, but he asks his men to get out of the way and uses his skill Military Zone Level 6 to break the barrier. Dokja again uses his contract authority and asks him to get down once again because he has been given the authority to command as per the contract. He asks him to stay down until he tells him to get up and also asks him to get rid of his men because they are getting on his nerves. Pildo's militarized zone has been deactivated. Pildo abuses him, but Dokja uses his authority and asks him to shut his mouth and stay quiet for 30 minutes. He says they have done with the housekeeping, so they will talk now, and he finds out that there are 29 people left altogether. 20 of them belong to the Landlord Coalition, and there are 9 others, including them. He thinks it's not that many, but it should be fine, and it's about time that he makes more allies, and it's time to pick and choose, so he asks them to either leave Chungmuro and head to another station, or they can stay there with him. He thinks he has to keep only the people he can trust close from now on. He remembers when he asked Huiwen to be his companion a moment ago, and she asks him if he never thought of her as his companion until now. He replies that it's the opposite because he may have thought of them as a companion, but that doesn't mean that they have also considered him their companion. He says she can think of it as making a deal with him, and he needs her power right now, and the information he has will also be useful for her. They have to maintain their relationship to survive, and she asks him what she is doing in the future that he knows of, but Dokja says he doesn't know about this. He says she wasn't in the future that he knows of, and this is why she needs this more than ever. He thinks she is a variable that wasn't in the original story that he created, and there will be another chance to pick a supporting constellation after this scenario. Huiwen will be able to play a key role in shaping future scenarios if she finds a good supporting constellation. She replies that it's all too sudden and she will think about it. Currently, he asks people to choose and they say it is way too sudden, but Dokja asks him to give him an answer and they have to stay or they will leave. He won't stop them if they are going to leave, but if they decide to stay, then they have to do as he asks them to. They get angry, and Dokja says he won't beat around the busy, but he won't charge their survival fees or anything like that. They ask him if he will guarantee their safety if they join his group, and he replies that he can ensure their protection from the outside threat, but he won't interfere with what goes on internally within the ground. A man calls Pildo and asks him to leave, saying there is no need to hear him, but Dokja says they all have to go without him because he now belongs to him. After some time, the sub-scenario has been completed, and Dokja receives 1,000 coins for his achievements. He says to the people who decide to stay there that he looks forward to working with them all. He is notified that he has now become the true leader of Chungmuro Station thanks to the power of the white flag, and now there are 24 people in their group. Many people have joined the group with them, and they also ask him for forgiveness. And Dokja says he is not the one they should be begging for forgiveness. He is notified that he has been granted authority over the Chungmuro group thanks to the power of the white flag, and they can punish any members that disgrace them, and they have insufficient fame to be named a king. Meanwhile, Dakibai appears there and asks them to start the main game now and activates the fourth main scenario. The name of the scenario is Capture the Flag, which has 5 clear conditions, and its time duration is 2,000 coins. They have to defend their flag and, at the same time, plant their flag at their flagpole. Their next target is Changsan Station. There are 2 stations between Chingsu and Changsan Station, and Sangha asks if they have to fight other people again. Hyunseong reads the condition and says that once they plant their flag on their flagpole, they will have the other group at their disposal. He says they might not have to kill anyone, and Sangha also thinks the same because it doesn't tell anywhere that the losers will die. If they can assimilate them into their own group, then they may be able to complete the scenario without killing anyone. Dokja thinks there is no such thing as a deathless scenario, and the 4th scenario will have more casualties than any scenario that came before it. Huiwen asks about the line going to Changsan Station and says they need to know that first. Hyunseong tells her that it's line 6, and if they move through the tunnels, they could go through Yaksu and pass one of the transfer stations. They decide to split the group and think of leaving some of them behind for guard duty while the others go scouting. After that, the safety barrier around Chungmuro was deactivated due to the scenario, and they can now move freely between the stations. Dokja then sees Pildo lying on the ground and says he can talk now, and also says he knows that he doesn't like him, but he needs to adapt to the situation. He asks him to know better where to draw the line if he wants to survive. He keeps him in charge of guarding the station and says he won't force him to follow his order. But if he does as he says, then he will reward him accordingly. He asks him to think about his family, which has been separated from him, and Pildo wonders how he knows about them. Suddenly, they can see many bikes rushing towards them, and they are shocked at the invasion already begun when the scenario only just started. There are many people entering the station, and Dokja instructs everyone to lower their weapons and approach them slowly. Their leader asks him to calm down and says they are not there to fight them. He introduces himself as Iljun Kang, and the vice leader of the Dongdaemun group, while Dokja wonders if he knows him. He then remembers that he is one of those variable he was worried about. His skill works on him, which means he is one of the characters in the novel. Dokja tells him his name, and he is surprised to hear his name, meaning he already knows about him. He then greets him and sees the flag in his hand that he must be the leader there. Dokja observes that he seemed off for a moment just now, and he asks him to get to the point if he is done looking around. Iljun says he just wanted to make sure that they would be safe as well, and they had come there to just make an offer. Dokja asks him how they are supposed to believe him, and he replies that they will know if they have read the rules. He says if they wanted to fight, their leader would be there with them because it's only the leaders who can plant the flag. Dokja asks him about his offer, and he replies that they have come there to offer him an alliance. After that, people are wondering about their offer, while Huiwen opposes this and says she doesn't artruze them and something feels off about them. Meanwhile, Dokja is thinking about their conversation when Iljun says Chungmuro Station is not their target, and if they were their target, they would have come there with the whole group. Dokja tells them that their target is Dongdaemun Station, but they still want to work together since they have different targets. Iljun says they can share the information they have with him, and Dokja thinks Chungmuro started late in the original novel as well from what he remembers, and they do have less information than they do. He claims that they know a secret that may vary Yuzufu, and they have a sure win tactic when it comes to the 4th scenario, and they won't regret it if they have them as his ally. Dokja replies they will decide after meeting their leader. He is in Dongdaemun, and Iljun says he will lead the way if he wants. They are about to follow them when Sangha calls and asks why they came to Chungmuro. He replies if they came from Dongdaemun, then they could have allied with many other stations nearby, and as he said, it's because Chungmuro Station just opened. The other stations have already formed alliances. However, Chungmuro Station hasn't made any alliances yet, and they will tell them more once they agree to work with them. After that, they leave with them and leave Gilyong behind, and Dokja asks Pildo to take good care of him. On their way, he calls Iljun and asks if others haven't said anything about Chungmuro Station. He asks what he meant by this, and Dokja asks him if he knows about a scary man named Younghyuk at that station. Suddenly, all of them feel something off, and they jump from their bikes by using Sangha's thread. She then throws the thread toward their tires and makes every one of them fall to the ground. Iljin asks him what they are doing, and a few moments ago, Dokja asks them to pretend they are interested and follow them, and they will get away from them if they seem suspicious. He says they should have worked on their hiding skills if they wanted to ambush them. Dokja asks them to get them all and tell them the true meaning of ambush. On the other side, Pildo wonders how he ended up taking orders from a young boy like Dokja. Suddenly, his men inform him about the fighting happening there. Dokja and other team members are fighting with them, and the Constellation of the Pure Good Alignment agrees with the use of the skill. Huiwen says their skills won't work for them, and compared to the cinema, they are a piece of cake for them. Hyunseong and Dokja have also taken over them. Suddenly, Dokja receives a message from Pildo that they are under attack. He runs away toward them and asks Sangha to tie these men up for him, and seeing the direction they came from, they must be the Myeongdong group. It looks like they have teamed up with Dongdaemun. They have to plant the flag and say they will be done once they plan the flag, and Dokja sees the flag in one of their hands and thinks he must be the leader. Their leader Hyunti Kim, the leader of Myeongdong, has used the effect of the red flag, and the Myeongdong group has received the buff from the red flag. He asks his men to fight until they get to the flagpole, and with this, everyone's attack and defense has increased by 5%. Dokja sees a red flag in his hands, which means he is the leader of Myeongdong Station,